if there's one thing people have been saying for years, it's that Tina Knowles is the real troublemaker in the Knowles family. When I say troublemaker, I mean how folks talk about her being controlling, narcissistic, and sneaky.
And Celestine had a color issue. So this is what she said. Coming back to my apartment to tell me that I had made the right decision, she told me that it was just as well. And this is a direct quote. Ashley is talented, but she is so big. She towers over the other girls, and she is too dark and ugly.
Well, you know who could probably back up all the talk about her being so awful? Her two ex-husbands, Matthew Knowles and Richard Lawson, her daughter Solange, everyone who was ever part of Destiny's Child, and basically anyone who's been close to her. A lot has been said and seen, but let's start with how she treats Beyoncé like she's her only child. Like, hello, is Solange just invisible to you?
Wait a minute, are you saying Tina Jay-Z?
I'm saying it's all in the family.
What?
That's why Solange so terrible. Because Solange ain't going for it. She's the real talent. She's the one with real integrity.
Wait a minute.
And the way she's been treated, it's disgusting.
People say that Tina is the reason Beyoncé and Solange have had issues in the past, because she doesn't even try to hide that she favors Beyoncé over Solange. This tension between the sisters hit its peak while Beyoncé was working on Renaissance. An insider who spoke to Media Takeout confirmed that there was something going on between them. The insider said, "We all found it strange that Solange wasn't involved in Beyoncé's album. It's exactly the kind of sound she would love." They also noted, not only was Solange not part of the project, but she didn't even send out a tweet or Instagram post to support Renaissance. The source added, "I think it's odd that she's not out there supporting Beyoncé. Beyoncé took a risk with her latest album, Renaissance, and really needed everyone's support to make it a hit." While the insider didn't have any first-hand evidence of a rift between Beyoncé and Solange, they did say, "I've heard things about their relationship, and I think something is definitely going on between them." The word on the street was that the real reason Solange didn't give a shout-out to her sister was that she was finally fed up with Tina always pushing her to help Beyoncé succeed. Yet she never got enough credit for it. I mean, last year, Beyoncé didn't even mention Solange in her Grammy speech, even though she mentioned everyone else in her family.
I want to thank God for protecting me. Thank you, God. I'd like to thank my Uncle Johnny, who's not here, but he's here in spirit. I'd like to thank my parents, my father, my mother, for loving me and pushing me. I'd like to thank my beautiful husband, my beautiful 3 children who are at home watching. I'd like to thank the queer community for your love and for inventing this genre. God bless you. Thank you so much to the Grammys.
For Solange, but if there's anyone else who has felt Tina's wrath, it's definitely Richard Lawson. By now, you probably know that Tina filed for divorce from Richard, and according to court documents, they cited irreconcilable differences as the reason for the breakdown of their marriage, making it impossible for them to continue living together as husband and wife. The terms of the settlement revealed that neither of them would receive spousal support, but Tina was ordered to give Richard a one-time payment of $300,000. Additionally, the settlement included a non-disparagement clause that prevents either of them from speaking negatively about the other or about each other's children and their spouses. The clause also stated that to protect the privacy rights of their current or future grandchildren, neither party would discuss them with the media or anyone else, either verbally or in writing. Many people weren't surprised by the divorce, given how the two acted in public. According to a lot of people, Tina never really saw Richard as a worthy husband, which is why she kept Matthew's last name and embarrassed Richard in interviews.
I envisioned the type of man I wanted. I prayed for the type of man I wanted, and I got pretty much that. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But, you know, he has a lot of the qualities. He has a lot of the qualities that that I love, and we're having a really good time, and I'm enjoying life. So there is hope, women.
The general belief has always been that Tina married Richard just to get back at Matthew. And once she didn't need him anymore, she decided to divorce him. As for her first husband, Matthew, they separated in 2009 after it was revealed that he had fathered a child with Alexandra Wright. Tina initially dropped the divorce suit in 2010, only to refile the following year, citing irreconcilable differences as the reason. We all know that Matthew was involved with many other women besides Alexandra, but things got really messy because Alexandra had a baby and went public with it.
Let me tell you something about taking a picture crying next to a garbage dump. That is the most dramatic thing ever. But I see, even though you're in such a way, you can still get your nails done, did, girl. And Jacoya was pregnant at the same time as Alexandra Wright. And this is all on it's a blurred line as to whether he was actually divorced from Tina or going through divorce. Whatever it is, it's really sloppy. I wonder what Solange says. You know what I mean? Because now that we know a bit about Solange, I wonder whether she windmilled him.
I've heard that the reason Matthew never acknowledged the children he had outside of his marriage is because Tina forbade it. Allegedly, Tina also prevents Beyoncé and Solange from having any relationship with their half-siblings. Besides the child with Alexandra, the other publicly known child is Koi, whose mother is Takoya. Takoya was a dancer when she met Matthew, and she said he treated her like the love of his life during their affair. But everything changed when he found out she was pregnant with Koi. After that, he left her and, just like with Alexandra, denied that the child was his.
You were pregnant with his child. How did he react? Very much, well, you can't get pregnant by me. You know, it can't be my child. You can't deny it once DNA test comes out 99.9% that you are the father.
All single ladies.
Sources have said that Tina made sure the women involved with Matthew, along with their children, suffered. The truth is, it's not like Matthew couldn't take care of his other children, but when Tina gave him strict orders to let them suffer, he had no choice but to follow. Now, don't get it wrong. This isn't to say Matthew was a saint. He's just as bad, if not worse, than Tina, and we've all seen that. However, the word on the street is that Tina allowed Matthew to cheat because she was doing the same thing. In fact, David Lee Brewer, Beyoncé's childhood vocal coach, wrote in his tell-all book, Beyoncé, Raising Genius, about an alleged affair between Richard and Tina. He mentioned that Matthew had escalated to strong drugs and even stranger behaviors, with rumors suggesting that he had moved from Coca-Cola to crack to satisfy his cravings. He also mentioned that Tina was cheating on Matthew with Richard, adding, "I soon discovered that even though Celestine was unhappily married, she wasn't suffering alone. One afternoon, when I went to the main house to retrieve my keyboard, I stumbled upon Celestine kissing a man. I immediately recognized him. It was Richard Lawson, a famous actor. Celestine, clearly startled, had no choice but to introduce me. It was incredibly awkward since she was supposed to be at her salon. I extended my hand to Richard and told him how much I admired his work. And if you think that's bad, just wait until you hear what she made the former members of Destiny's Child do." Allegedly, Tina was behind many of the terrible things that happened to the bandmates. For example, it's said that she masterminded what happened to former Destiny's Child member Farrah Franklin. You might remember when Matthew issued a statement to MTV saying the group decided to part ways with Farrah after she missed several shows. He said, "The bottom line is that Farrah didn't show up for work. I don't care where you work, whether it's on a production line or wherever. If you don't show up, you're going to get fired." Matthew even repeated this in another interview.
Farrah didn't show up, didn't call us, didn't let us know. Then we left Seattle to go to Los Angeles to take a nonstop flight to Sydney, Australia. So we haven't heard from Farrah. We get to LAX. We continue to call her. Finally, she got on the phone. So that part was absolutely correct. And then at that point, she said she quit.
According to Farrah, that's not exactly how things went down. She made sure to share her side of the story, basically calling the entire family, including Beyoncé, a bunch of liars for repeating what her father said.
Well, that's not true. I've never missed a show, ever, or I would have got kicked out the group. You know how much I was getting paid to do a show, and that's the best part of my day? I'm not missing any shows. But when I leave the group, they weren't honest with people and said that I left. They were trying to give themselves more time to clear the air, whatever, but I've never missed a show, ever. And like I said, if I would have missed the group, then they would have kicked me out. So you can't say I'm missing shows if I'm no longer a part of the group anymore. That's a lie. Bold-faced one.
Guess who was influencing both Matthew and Beyoncé during all that time? Yep, you guessed it, Tina. It's possible she saw that Matthew was interested in Farrah and decided she had to go. Farrah has mentioned before that Matthew did indeed try to pursue her.
Fortunately, my manager happened to be Beyonce's father. Matthew Knowles, he propositioned me to invite me over to the hotel to meet and speak with him.
Did Matthew try to sleep with you, Farrah?
I haven't met too many people in my life who haven't liked me. I'll just put it like that.
Speaking of Farrah, she revealed on an episode of The Wendy Williams Experience that while she was in Destiny's Child, all the other members had to tan to appear significantly darker than Beyoncé. And guess who was behind making them do this? You probably guessed it. Tina.
Yeah, that's right. You don't talk about Tina Knowles. Because what she did to Farrah is totally separate from the look that she possesses. Gorgeous woman.
Thank you.
However, I understand that she wanted you to, she was trying to downplay your naturally stunning looks while you were in the group. Did she have you dye your hair, or she wanted you to dye it something other than the stunning black that it is?
Yeah, my hair was red when I was in the group, actually. And I was
clown red, like old Kelly red? What? Oh, see.
Red. Yeah. My hair was red. I look a lot different than when I was in the group.
Damn sure do, because I don't even recognize you.
Yeah.
I know your name, but I don't know you.
This is how I would have looked naturally, like, but this is the group. That's how they wanted me to look.
What else would they do to ugly you up?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I mean, I did have to tan a lot.
Tan a lot? Because they wanted Beyonce to be the lightest one?
I mean, Michelle, I, and Kelly tanned sometimes, so.
Wow. And Beyonce wouldn't tan?
Wow. Not unless we were at a beach.
Wow.
Honey, I've also seen evidence that Tina would tell the other girls to go out in the sun to get a tan, but specifically told Beyoncé not to join them. Besides wanting the other girls to be darker so Beyoncé would appear lighter, Tina also apparently didn't want to work with darker-skinned girls, at all. For example, Ashley Tamar Davis, who was once part of Destiny's Child, was reportedly excluded by Tina because she was described as dark, big, and ugly. During a conversation with a former voice coach, Ashley was reminiscing about her time with Destiny's Child when the coach revealed that Tina didn't want to work with her. The coach shared that although he initially hesitated, Ashley insisted on hearing more about why she was kicked out. And she wasn't quite prepared for what he said next about Tina wanting her out.
And Celestine had a color issue. So this is what she said. Coming back to my apartment to tell me that I had made the right decision, she told me that it was just as well. And this is a direct quote. Ashley is talented, but she is so big. She towers over the other girls, and she is too dark and ugly.
Another thing people say about Tina is that she allegedly forced Kelly Rowland to cut her hair because she didn't want anyone looking better than Beyoncé. I mention allegedly because the pixie cut was really popular at the time, so it could have been Kelly's choice. However, some people claim Tina pressured her into it. The pixie cut didn't exactly work out in Kelly's favor, even though it became quite iconic, and she often gets asked about it in interviews. Many people think Kelly looked great with short hair, But if it was done to make sure she didn't outshine Beyoncé, that's a different story. These are just some of the claims about Tina being a controlling narcissist, and there are plenty more out there. Allegedly, her ex-husbands have also criticized her behind the scenes. What do you think? What is it about Tina that rubs you the wrong way? Share your thoughts in the comments below.